afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Crone Zone Conversations with the Ancients. My name's Priscilla. My friend Heather is my co-host, and today we welcome wisdom seeker Joan. Thank you so much for being here, Joan.
Thank you for having me. I'm just so thrilled to be here.
It's always lovely to have you. Always, always, always. Hi, Teresa. Welcome. Heather, I was wondering if you pulled your cards today.
No, but I can very quickly. You were
I
just
think it's always a
the
good
show.
thing to do to let people pop in while you're
Not a
doing
problem.
your cards.
Just a minute.
We've invited Joan here today, and we're going to talk about the different ways that people get and receive information from the other side. Is that fair enough to say?
Yeah.
How we all read, because it's all very different a lot of times. And it just seems like the rules that used to be appropriate for being a psychic medium have kind of flown out the window, and it's anything goes.
Yes.
So it's pretty neat. I just want to say hi to Janet P. and Craig Dixon and Illumination Portal. Hi, Valerie. And who else did I see? Our friend Jay from Majestic Oracle. If you all haven't checked out Jay's channel, you must check it out. It's on YouTube, Majestic Oracle. It's fantastic. She's a very talented young lady, young reader.
Okay. The first card is us, and that's fearless. We are fearless, but sometimes our own giftedness gets in the way. The gifts that we have, they just kind of stop us a little bit. Meanwhile, our spirits are trying to give voice to what needs to be done. And of course, as our human being is trying to act with integrity. But we're still getting, the giftedness is getting in the way. And so what we'll end up doing and what will help with that is because we're constantly shifting, that will overcome that particular giftedness that's holding you back so that your mind, it's allowed to change. So if you need to change it, it will, because the giftedness won't get in the way.
I think we've had to change our minds about a lot of things over the last few years.
Yeah. So just being able to shift will help you get over that, whatever is holding you back, because you are fearless, or if you're not, your giftedness is in the way. It's saying, oh, I can't do it. No, you can do it. It's just that you're telling yourself you can't. So if you're shifting, then you can get past that and do what you need to do.
Yeah, I like that.
That's the perfect reading for what I wanted to talk about today in
exactly
ways of reading.
And they usually do end up being pertinent.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit more about the giftedness getting in the way of your gifts.
You know that you think, well, let's talk about what I'll talk about on Monday is astro. You're seeing.
Okay.
You know, and your own giftedness is telling you, wait a minute, there's more there. No, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about this. It's there. You just need to shift a little bit so that you can see it better.
Okay.
Look at it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
If it doesn't work, it's just tweaking a different perspective a little bit, just shifting slightly to get that different perspective.
So that when you're looking and when you're getting your messages, sometimes they aren't clear to you. You're not using the giftedness. It's holding you back because it's not being used the way it wants to be used. And if you shift a little bit, does that make
opens
sense?
up?
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
it does make sense. Hi, Sharon Sipe. How are you doing?
Happy birthday to everyone this month. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday to everybody
On November
this month.
birthday. Thanks everybody for coming. Well, yeah. Should I talk a little bit about what we were talking about before the show about how I get a
please. I
message?
just want let me read what Craig said about his messages come in dreams, voices, and mind's eye pictures. The dreams are like mini movies, backed up with verification.
That's cool. Nice. That's nice. Being backed up with verification is great.
Okay.
Helps you trust yourself.
Yes. We were just talking before the show that when I get the message that I need to take a different perspective, all of a sudden things go missing. And that forces me to go look under tables and, behind the radiator and just look at physical things in a different way. And suddenly the one lipstick I usually use, which is why you can hardly see it here now, and it's always in the same place, and that's gone missing. And the mascara that I used went missing a couple of weeks ago. And these are not things I carry around with me. They're just not where they should be. And I finally sat down through the pendulum and said, okay, is this another perspective? Because before they were taking my socks or my mittens in the middle of winter, and they would end up under the table or, somewhere unusual. And so I just asked, is this another message that I need to take another perspective? And the pendulum's like, yes. It's like, okay, help me narrow this down. And I was asking, who is sending this message? And it turned out to be my late sister, who was very, very, she was an actor. So she was all into makeup and all that kind of stuff and would give me hints. So maybe she's telling me I need to get a different color lipstick or something. I don't know. But I like, okay, got it. And that's not usually the way I perceive things. But once at least I had that experience of them taking the mittens and the socks, that it's like, oh, this is another one of these ones. So it is another way.
It's interesting.
Kind of like, knock, knock, knock. Hello? Are you paying attention?
Earth to Joan, Earth to Joan.
Yes. We have to talk. We have to talk here. But in general, we were going to talk today a little bit about both taking another perspective and just the different ways we do perceive things so that we can do that shift and like if we'll, take a slightly different approach or whatever. And I was telling you that when I first started my channel almost 2 years ago, I didn't feel like, of course, I didn't feel like I had what it took to do this. But I thought if I took the leap and was brave enough to go on and do this, maybe I could inspire other people who kind of felt like they might have, they might have something to offer, and they would take the leap too. So I thought, hey, somebody sees, well, she can do it, I can do it, and I feel like I hope that I've done that, and along the way, that practice of being brave and continuing to do the work, things come in, and I think it strengthened my abilities a little bit. But it also, go ahead.
Hasn't it maybe widened your abilities as well?
And just as you were saying about how things shift, one example of that is recently I've started to get songs, and I never got music or songs before, and now I can tell by the songs that I'm getting that they're from my husband. And that's really fun because like some of his favorite tunes will come in, or
my husband does that too.
Yeah. There was, I think Priscilla, I might have told you this story just last week. It was on Thursday. I was on Allie's Heart and Soul Connected show, and I forget what the question was, but the answer came in this song, and I said, I don't know what this song is. I don't know. I don't recognize it, but it's a gospel sounding song. And the only lyrics I could hear of it were rise up, rise up. But I could tell the chords and the music it sounded like a gospel song. And somehow that related to whatever the person was asking. And then the next night I went to, there was a fundraiser for a nonprofit that I used to be on the board of. It was a nonprofit music school mainly for African-American kids and others who want to learn jazz. And that's where my kid learned how to play jazz and all of that. So anyhow, it was at a nice jazz club downtown. And when one of the student ensembles started playing, one of the songs was Funny Valentine, My Funny Valentine. And I thought, oh, well, my husband sent that song because that's our song. And this ensemble, they didn't really play standards. So it was unusual that they would play that. So that was sweet. And then they only had one vocalist, and the vocalist started singing this song called Rise Up. And it was a
You can't
gospel
make this
song.
up.
Yeah. And I had never heard the song before, but it was just beautiful. And I saw they had it listed who wrote the song. So when I got home, I Googled it and played it. And it was this whole the video that went with it was all about this woman who was rising up every morning and doing her best to take care of her husband, who was a paraplegic, a veteran who had been injured and was in a wheelchair and all that. And to me, that was a message from my husband saying he didn't want me to be, taking care of him for the rest of his life. And on the flip side, he's going to be there looking after me, rising up and taking care of me for the rest of mine. So
I
it
love
was,
that.
yeah, wasn't it sweet? And I think, yeah,
That's sweet.
Majestic Oracle, it is a moving song. And it's like, okay, this is just a little shift that he's in a place now where he's going to be with me, helping me on these readings, and using a slightly different version of what I do to get messages
Interesting.
across. Yeah, so that was
So
kind of fun.
it's already morphed. The way
Yeah.
you read is already morphed.
Yeah.
Marilla drives safe. She says she's driving but listening.
Oh,
And I have a couple of things starred. Craig Dixon, my guide Clara, tells me to follow my heart into my imagination and our future. Imagination. Yes, that's beautiful. So
Yeah.
true. Our imagination is everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't do what we do without imagination.
Without using your imagination.
Yeah.
And then Majestic Oracle says, my messages come in stronger than I'm sometimes ready for at the time. Yeah. Be careful what you wish for and wanting to be more in tune psychically. True.
Definitely.
True.
Yeah.
And I'll just say hi to Janet P. and Fatima. Thanks for showing up today and being with us. Blessings to all of you today. Another thing that I think it's super important that I used to do is compare myself to others. And, I can't do that. They can do that. Look how good they do that. Well, I don't want to even try because they're so good. I don't want to do that.
And that's a real damper on
It's a real killer for you.
You won't even try, and it's very possible you can do it even better, but you won't try because you don't think you're good enough.
Exactly. So for God's sake, do not compare yourself to anybody, because I really believe that the veil has gotten so thin that our gifts manifest in ways that nobody's ever even heard of before. They're just, and it's unusual, and it seems to be absolutely different for every single person.
I mean, just look at you and me. We all do things differently, and
completely different.
Priscilla and I do things so completely differently that if you compare, you're going to go crazy.
Yeah.
Because we are so different.
Yeah.
And Priscilla, you were saying something before the show, when you read for someone and are brave enough to say, in your head, it's like, that doesn't make any sense, or this, but you say it anyhow. You say, and it's true for me too. That's the thing that you're just like, oh, I don't even know if I want to say this because it doesn't make much sense. But that's the one that will make people gasp and go, oh, that makes so much sense to me.
Yeah, that's so every single time when I think, oh, I'm not really wanting to say this, and they'll, oh, that's it. And you're like, okay.
It's like I have the same thing repeating in my head over and over again. It's just, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to say this. They know why.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
So I would say it. Oh, that makes so much sense to me. Well, yeah, but not to us. It doesn't need to make sense to us. We're just the messenger.
It really doesn't. It's just because it's going to make sense to that person or not. But more than likely, the one thing you think is not going to make sense is the one that does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think
so. Valerie says comparison is a hard one, but y'all are correct. We're all gifted different. Yeah, it just amazes me how different we are.
Yeah,
it really does.
And that way, there's it's kind of a la carte. Everybody can pick their own. There's so many people out there that read in different ways. There's somebody for everyone. There's a perfect
It
little
really
snowflake
is.
that will match what your needs or
Now,
whatever.
I'm jealous of the clairvoyance because I don't see in visions, and I'm like, I want that movie trailer. I want to see that. I want to see that. And that really bothered me that I don't see like that. What I see is mainly in grays and blacks, variations of gray, really, and but it comes through from a knowing or a feeling.
Mhm.
So it's like I can't see a red bird, but I know what a red bird looks like, right?
Mhm.
So in my mind, I might not be able to see that, but I know what it looks like, so I know that's what I'm feeling or knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
And how does it come through for you, Heather?
For me, I just know.
Mhm.
And sometimes I know before I realize that I know. You know what I mean? It comes
Yeah.
so fast. I I discount it, and I've got to listen to it the first time through,
Yeah.
because otherwise. And the other part of it is if I start talking about it, I just keep going and going and going. And the more I talk, the closer it is to everything.
Yeah.
Because if you just stop, then you kind of stop seeing or knowing or feeling. Whereas if I begin to talk, it just keeps coming. And if somebody
It's
asks me a question, it just keeps coming.
it's sort of weird because when you're in that zone, the logical brain and the vocabulary kind of go away. So
That's
half
right.
of it is, am I just struggling for a word that I can't reach, or is the spirit trying to get different words
Yeah.
through? And I just keep going and going, and I think it's part one and part the other.
Mhm.
But yeah, when you're on,
Yeah, you just
I go
keep
on
going,
uncharted
and you
flow.
come out with more things that you didn't know you were going to come out with,
Yeah,
but they were right. Crazy.
some much of the time. Um, And I typically see my strongest gift, I guess, is to see images. So it's clairvoyance in some way, but it's more
Mhm.
symbolic rather than actually seeing
Right.
the scene, that actually seeing where
They're
they
more
put my lipstick. Yeah,
metaphors rather than, yeah.
yeah.
I may
And
eventually see a picture, but I know in my head first.
I see them, and sometimes I hear voices in my mind's ear. Rarely outside will I, hear a
Well,
literal voice.
it's like when I view things. I get the feeling of something, and the more I talk about it, the more I see it. So, but once I see it, I can pull it back into my head every single time and see it again and start
Mm,
looking for more things.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
is. Because
cool.
usually the information I get, it's there and gone. I don't
Mine
remember it.
Well,
It's
pretty
just
it's
quick.
like when I went into the pall of the Sphinx. I still remember what that room looked like
right.
Cool.
when it finally first
And
actually
you're going to tell us more about that on Monday's show,
on
with the
Monday show.
Wisdom Circle on remote viewing, right?
Yes, I will.
Remote viewing fascinates me. Just
Yes.
fascinates me, the things that you can go see.
But everybody, I truly believe everybody does it in their own way. When we're healing, she's doing it. I'm doing it too, but she's doing it. Or
Cool.
we couldn't work together the way we do if she weren't
Right.
doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, if I
And
can
my
do it, I don't remember it. And I can't do it on command. And I'd
I'm
love to be able
beginning to
to.
get to where I can. If there's something I want to see, and I'll
Does
talk about
anybody
it.
have an idea of what Heather could remote view today? Do you have somewhere on the planet that you would like Heather to go have a look see at?
Think
She's
about it and show up on Monday. I'll try.
Yeah, think about it, and then on Monday she'll try it, or maybe later today she can try it.
I can
I
do
don't
that too.
know.
Yeah. It's so interesting sometimes. I'm like, oh wow, where'd that come from? But it but it's like everything else that we all do. That's how you see.
Hmm.
quotation marks.
And it's different for everybody too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Janice Bass, I'm sorry, we're not doing readings today. We're talking about different issues regarding our gifts and how they manifest for each of us and the differences.
And the
And
modes and the everything.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll
like
be
I said,
really
remote
interested in
viewing
hearing
is
that.
so cool. I just wish I could get it.
Yeah.
And tips for how to build your confidence.
Right.
Number one for me is trust that first
Thought.
clue, whatever comes first.
Hmm.
What about you? What about you?
I
What's one for
that's
you?
a really important one. I had an example of that just a week or two ago on a practice group. Somebody would hold up a picture and everyone else would try to guess who it was. And my first guess, I thought, well, no, that can't be. And of course, that's what it was. It was
I love that.
an aunt on the mother's side. And but a good one that I've
Oh,
been doing. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Go
Uh,
ahead.
uh, uh, One that I've just started doing recently because everybody says you have to journal. Well, I could pull out of my desk about 6 different journals, and they were originally all for one thing, and they all got mixed up, and they're never around the
Mine,
same.
I had the same thing. I have journals with 3 or 4 pages in it, and then they're blank for the
Right.
year.
Or it'll start. Oh, this was a travel journal. This was the trip we took to
Yeah.
wherever 10 years ago, and then it's some automatic writing or something.
Yeah.
No.
As
So
far as I'm concerned, the only journals that are chronological are the ones when I was doing, you write 2 pages every day, or when I was taking notes when she was channeling.
Yeah, those
Those
are
are
the only.
chronological. And those, we managed to keep that one separate so that they're separate books, but they've got dates, beginnings and endings. So you can find out where you were at. But those are the only ones. I mean, I have tons of journals. I have a musical journal
oh, lovely.
because I keep hearing melodies in my head and tunes. And a lot of times it's somebody's calling card. So I have a
Yeah.
musical journal and they play that same song in my head until I get it
Okay.
written down. And then once it's down, they'll let it go. Except in the case of oh, I can't remember his name. I'll have to get it. But it turned out to be like it's a 30-page
Oh, my
thing,
word.
manuscript of stuff that he's
Is a new composition that's coming through you, or is this an existing song that's already
It's a new
existing?
composition.
a new
Oh my
composition.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
word.
it was
I
amazing.
even have a song for her from her husband.
Oh, how beautiful.
Not
There's so much
really.
talent over there.
Not really.
It made lots of sense. Definitely for her.
Uh, sing it, Heather.
What? Okay. She goes
Sing
around
it.
and around and around and around. He's talking about her turning twirls in the water.
Oh,
Because I like to twist in the water. I like to do circles in the water and see how fast I can go.
she goes around and around. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was really
I don't remember,
challenging lyrics.
but it was really.
I
need
love
to take a
hypnicities. I buy a journal with the best of intentions.
I
Me
know.
too, hypnicity. And like the other people, I have a gazillion of them that are
Me too.
partially filled out.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I have managed to have only one journal for the music
That's
That
good,
makes
Heather. At
because
least you
you have
got
to have
that.
music lines.
Okay, we have a spot for you to go for. The Denver Airport Underground.
Ooh.
That's the remote viewing that somebody asked. In this case,
Okay.
it's Jay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Woo!
Because I have been there, so
You've
What,
been
you've been
everywhere.
to the airport? Yeah.
Since I can't keep the journals all straight, or then they're at hand at the moment, I've got an app called Workflowy, and it's just a organizational app, but I love it because it's so simple. You can do lots of other things with it, but it's just an outline. And as a writer, that's what I need. It's just a dot, and then you can make a list and then sub things.
Mhm.
And now I have one category in there that's just for synchronicities and messages. And it's so easy to just put a quick note in there. And as soon as you get the thought or as soon as it happens, and it's so quick, and my phone's always with me, so that's kind of nice. I'm sure there's a fancier way to do it where you can just
Oh,
record
that sounds
something.
pretty
I have a
good.
journal. I have a journal on my iPad, and it
Yeah.
actually uses a pen. And I just go to the page and just write anything down that I want to.
Yeah,
And
I'd be
it's
interested
always there.
in other people in the chat, how you do that to get over the, oh, where's the journal or whatever. But I've noticed since I've started doing that and noting, you know, when I see the repeating numbers, which is several times a day,
Right.
and other
It's
things
real
that then
easy
you
to
can,
do that.
yeah, then you go back
They're
and you think,
asking,
oh wow,
Valerie's
they really are
asking
trying to.
what's the app name?
Oh, it's Workflowy, WORKFLOWY. And it's
Workflow.
just a,
Okay.
yeah, it's just a free app, and it's, you know, something to try. It works for me. And
Hypnicity says she takes notes during practice sessions. I do too, Hypnicity.
Yes,
I
we
guess
do.
that's my journal. Twice a week is better than nothing.
But
yeah,
what I do is I copy it afterwards because I don't remember. But
oh, I don't
later
remember.
on, and besides, you should see my piece of paper after we've been through. In order to make it make a lot more sense, I copy it over the next day.
I
Well,
always
and
have
that does help
something.
you remember. I have yellow pads. I have those yellow pads.
Yeah.
I write. I have one for the psychic practice and one for the Akashic record practice. And if I'm doing psychic practice with somebody else, then it goes in the psychic practice yellow one. And if I'm doing Akashic record practice with somebody else, it goes in the Akashic record one. So yeah, they've become my journals. So because
Yeah,
taking notes during practice is easier for me than
But I do
looking
enjoy
over and
the
journaling.
act of writing, which is part of the reason why I have an app on my laptop that
iPad.
I actually just write on. And if
Right.
I don't do that, I like the regular books to just write in. I
Mhm.
get thoughts that I don't know where they're coming from when I'm writing.
Yeah.
It doesn't automatic write. I can't do that, but I just write down everything.
I
You know,
tried the automatic write with Dolores Cannon. I was channeling Dolores Cannon for a while, and she'll come to me when I'm working on my level
Hypnosis.
2 training for the QHHT,
Mhm.
quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is Dolores Cannon's technique. And so she was telling me that she wanted to do some automatic writing. I couldn't stop my hand from moving my own hand, and it was like a battle, and looking at the writing, it was just all over the place because we were having a battle of who was gonna control the hand,
Unless
and
you're
I'm
in control.
trying really hard not to, but I just can't help it, so that was a
That's my
no-go
issue.
for
I
me.
can't. I'll even write words. I don't know where that word came from. I don't know
oh
why
yeah,
it's there.
Oh, that's a good idea, Wiki. She's saying, she gets messages during her walking
right.
meditations. I'm coming up on that issue of how to remember or collect the messages, and
Mm.
that one for your phone sounds perfect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's one that you could just record on the phone, that would be great for capturing those.
It
Yeah.
Yeah, I
really
used to
is.
have the yellow legal pads, and just whenever I'm doing questions, I have to write it down. And I had like 12 of them, just because I went through so many of them, and I thought, well, I'm going to keep this and go through them later. And I was never going through them, so those got recycled. But I did, I did like to do
Actually,
that.
I went through all the journals of me that I wrote when she was channeling, and
It's important.
it was important. There was a lot of things that I had forgotten about, and a lot of information that it was good to look at and see it again. And I
Mhm.
Yeah,
kept telling her, you need to read this, you need to read this.
And for some reason, I just really don't like to go back and read stuff that I've done before. However, when I started reading those after she nagged me to start reading them, I realized, oh yeah, this is super important. I don't remember any of this stuff, and it's still relevant. Even she's thinking mainly back in 2020.
Right.
It's definitely still relevant.
Hmm.
oh yeah,
And I was taking notes on what had been written because I knew I was going to give her the journals. They were hers. I was just writing them for her. So
Wow.
I was taking notes on some of the things that I wanted to remember. Now all I have to
Right.
do is find the book that I put it
Hi, Ron, Unconditional Love. Welcome.
in. So,
Welcome, Fatima.
you get so many, you forget which one's got what.
I think that whole idea of when things are coming in, they're there and then they're gone. In
Mhm.
some ways, and that's the same way for me getting symbolic images that are meaningful to other people, but I don't know, oftentimes I
Yeah.
don't know what they mean, because I feel like that's sort of like a little bit of a screen, so you're not looking at someone's naked issues and problems. It's like I don't really know. I don't want to get that close to you or
Right.
get that into your problems or that into your life. So it's like a screen in a dressing room, so you're not seeing someone naked. And the whole idea of being able to give them some information that's meaningful to them without like really getting into their business feels a little bit more proper. And so for
Well,
that, it fits my personality a little bit better.
but like
I
And then it's
vow.
just gone.
some of the things in her journals, I didn't understand at all when I wrote them down. But when I read them again,
Wow.
they made sense. So sometimes you just need to get away from it for a little while and then look
Yeah.
at it again.
Yeah.
But they
There's
know by
another
then
thing
what it is.
that I was thinking of regarding our guests. Because we're all empaths, we tend to collect other people's emotions. And
Mhm.
I think it's super important when you get up in the morning to put a bubble around yourself, a protection against other people's emotions and anything that doesn't resonate with unconditional love and your highest good. And put that bubble around you, especially when you're doing any kind of energy work, reading for other people, particularly like on YouTube. Some days we're just reading for one person after another. We don't know what the energy of those people are. So I
Yeah.
think it's super important to put that protection around you.
And I agree with her. I know that a lot of people do a little prayer before they start, but
Mhm.
sometimes like I might forget. So having that bubble around me is always there and it's always there for her. So you're protected no matter what. Even if you forget to say that little prayer of protection, you're already protected.
Well,
I
we
do
smudge
that.
to ethnicity for sure.
Yeah.
Smudging is super important.
I do
Yeah.
that every time I meditate and before every show or every reading, but sometimes I forget to say, and it's here for the whole day or whatever. And I've noticed just recently, um, I do some caretaking for an elderly sister-in-law, and I'll come home and think, why am I so tired? Why? And just like, oh, just kind of knocked out. And then I realize I'm picking up her stuff because she's not well.
Yeah.
And then have to take some time clearing. And it's like you have to remember to clear yourself before you go into that house, because we do as empaths pick up on things, and
Right.
we have to be a little proactive even when dealing with people in the 3D world.
I
Yeah.
even do it when I leave the house so that I'm safe in my car.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
I'm going to get to my destination in a timely manner without any incidents. That kind of thing.
And a
Uh,
lot of times you do it without even thinking. So you're not making it a process. It's just you automatically know you're protected when you go out. Sometimes it's that way. And of course,
yeah.
if you live in an apartment like me where you're not allowed to burn anything, then you can
Mm.
always use a spray.
Yes, I use a spray too.
Yeah, because
Wiki.
I'm not
Go
allowed
ahead.
to burn candles or smudge or anything, but I do use the spray.
Wiki said she remembers a time when Steve Allen was walking down the street in downtown Seattle talking into a cassette recorder. And I think it was his way of not having to get people, greet people and getting his ideas down. And that struck a chord with me. My dad had about an hour commute, and he would have a cassette recorder back in the day and record thoughts, either about business. And one time he wanted me to write a brochure for his company. So he would just, every day driving home, he'd do a tape and have another memory about the history of the company or something like that. And it was so fun to to listen to his voice and then put it all together. And I did a nice brochure. And it was, it's at those times, like when you're driving, when you're walking, when you're, vacuuming or something, when your mind isn't really focused on a specific thing, that all these ideas, whether they're spiritual or otherwise, they're allowed to kind of pop in. And then
when do they pop in for you? And chat room, when do your ideas pop in? Mine are in the shower.
In the shower is great.
Or washing dishes.
For me, it's like doing, work around the house, whether it's vacuuming or painting or whatever, or on walks.
In the swim pool, I get them sometimes when I'm just
I
paddling around for the heck of it.
Yeah,
the bathtub is a good place because I'm surrounded with water.
Yeah.
The shower bothers me a little bit, but not as, I just have always liked baths. So.
And driving for me too. Things will come in.
Driving.
And I do, when you recognize them, that those are received thoughts, or you don't even have to determine if it's a received thought or a thought of your own, say out loud, that's a good idea. Thank you. And
I do. I actually have started saying thank you for those ideas instead of just, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I think it's super important to thank because we get more with all that acknowledgement.
Thank you more, please.
Is the key.
Yeah.
Using the pure divine light to clear my space works for me when I don't have access to sage and sweet glass.
That's nice.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Divine light does well, and so does the bowls, singing bowls. Singing bowls do well.
Oh, and Wiki gets ideas when swimming laps. Oh, that's great too.
That is great.
I have to get back to swimming laps.
I don't get when I'm swimming laps. I'm too busy counting laps, trying to make sure I have
to remember. But then what I do is focus on the numerology of the number that you're on. 1, and then 2 is duality.
I have this little thermometer that's dead, pool thermometer. It's in a plant, and I turn it a quarter of a turn for every 15 laps I do. I go back and turn it a quarter of a turn so I won't forget how many I've done, because I will in an instant. I'll just go blank. I'll be thinking about something else, and it's like, oh, I forgot how many left.
I have to get back to that. Oh, I love swimming laps. Yeah.
I do too.
What else were we going to talk about?
Oh, imposter syndrome. That's another one we have to deal with. Is not believing in ourselves and thinking that.
And a lot of it is the lack of confidence, no matter what you do. I'm not as good as her. I'm not good enough. It's
just coincidence that it happened for me. It's all those kinds of things.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
I was lucky. That really didn't have anything to do with me.
No.
And I think some of that comes from the fact that we are just, the mouthpiece for spirit to get the message through to the person to whom it'll be meaningful. So to me, a lot of times, I don't know if that was very meaningful at all, but to the other person, it is.
It seems to be. Yes.
I'm left with the idea that, and sometimes yes, and sometimes you get the feedback and validation that, that was really meaningful to me, and other times not. But then you see other people read, and it just seems like they're on all the time. So that's something everybody has to work on. I know I do. And Wiki said that's why she doesn't count laps. I just go by time. That makes sense too.
That does make sense.
Lori says, I get thoughts when I'm outside, especially working on my flower gardens. Yes. Well, there's got to be a symbol in this. These are my chrysanthemums. It was like down in the 20s a couple nights ago. And these were, somebody gave me some mum plants after my husband died. And after they quit blooming, I planted them last year. They came up and they, just last week, these weren't in bloom, but it was going to get cold. So I chopped them off and put them in water. And they all bloomed here. So there's, things keep giving, things keep flowering. There's blossoms even in late October, and when they don't think that
my mums are dying.
Are they?
Mine are yeah, it went from one side of the plant all the way over to the other. Just all of a sudden turned brown. I bought two of them, yellow mums, and one of them's fine, and the other one has just died from one to the other. It's
Hmm.
bizarro.
But
Heather,
Maybe
we've got
you're,
another one.
I was going to say, when I get my best instantaneous thoughts is when I'm doing something that doesn't take thinking, like if
Yeah.
I'm coloring or if I'm painting or, you're doing something, you get an idea all of a sudden.
yeah.
It's when your mind has a chance to rest.
Who
Okay,
is that?
Heather. I'm
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Here's another place for you to remote view. It's in the desert in Southern California, 3 miles from Edwards Air Force Base. There are buttes and hills all around me, but there are three particular mounds that look strange. So
Yeah, they
near
do look
Edwards,
strange. They do look strange. Okay, I'll just copy that later because there's a lot.
It sounds like you're familiar with that, Heather.
No, I just when
Oh,
she
you
was
just saw it?
yeah,
she saw it.
I just saw it. Yeah, she was talking and I saw it. That's all. But it's going to take some more time because there's stuff inside those mounds.
Oh, good. So stay tuned Monday. She'll get
Yeah.
back to us on Monday. I love that. That's
Lori
brilliant.
Hansker is saying her red Easter lilies are blooming again. Beautiful aspect of the fall with strange weather patterns. Yes, my lilac started to bloom too, which,
Red Easter lilies are blooming. That's beautiful.
yeah.
Oh, she says those hills are dark, blackish. They don't look like natural hills.
I
I
know.
feel there are UFOs underneath those mounds.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are.
they're there.
I love that.
Are they old volcanoes, do you think?
Volcanoes? No.
Okay.
Those are not man-made, but
Ah,
they're not nature-made.
okay.
Okay.
Got it. Received.
Are you saying they're ET made?
They're definitely not man-made and they're not nature-made. So I imagine, yeah.
Interesting. Woohoo!
Cool.
Very cool.
That sounds great.
So, what are some other tips to build confidence? Well, don't compare yourself to anyone else, right? Then
Right.
there's trust that first thing that pops in your mind. Meditation.
Meditation and just,
Meditation's always a good one for getting into that quiet space.
And that's another place where you get a lot of ideas.
Hmm.
yeah. And then just being brave. Just being brave and getting out of your own way and just saying it. It's like that Homeland Security thing. If you see something, say something.
Right, right.
Don't let your logical mind block
He
it.
does say they're actually ancient dormant volcanoes. So you were
Yeah,
both right.
I know down in Mexico there are some that look very odd, and people have said they were the inside of an ancient volcano.
Right.
They used to fly UFOs over Watsonville, California. There's, that was something else that we were going to talk about how, of all of us being Crones here, at least the three of us on the program here, that we've seen such changes over the years about what's socially acceptable almost to talk about. When
Right.
I was growing up in my teens and 20s, palmistry and tarot cards and psychic stuff, and then as I got a little
It was
older, spirit
wicked.
guides
It
and
was
all of that.
wicked.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
even as I kind of got into that community, it was like spirit guides, angels,
Mhm.
departed loved ones. But now it's
Now we
so
have
much broader than that.
ETs and interdimensionals and extra dimensionals and fae and you name it.
It's
Well,
huge.
it's like it really shocked me because when my mom and I went without my dad and my brothers down to the shore, and she actually let me go to a palm reader. Never would have happened with my dad along.
Yeah.
Never, never.
And to be able to talk about these things openly without being strung up or the fear of being ridiculed too much. It's through social media and major media,
Yeah.
television and movies and
Absolutely.
everything.
I was watching something last night, and this doctor was talking about people that spoke about their ET experiences. 10 years ago, they just would say you're schizophrenic and throw you in the nut house or give you drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? They're still doing that to our little star seeds. The
Yeah.
young ones that are coming up that are seeing things, and the doctors are like, no way, you're nuts. And they're
Yeah.
filling them full of drugs. That
But-
part really bothers me is
Yeah.
that, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's changed. The way that you used to see mediums, it was always that crazy cat lady that read tarot
Yeah.
cards that you went to see, and her house stunk and there were cats everywhere. That was my first psychic medium experience. Was what we called the crazy cat lady.
I kind of think that when you get to be a crone, people will listen to you as if you might actually know what you're talking about. But if you're somebody very young, they're still trying to tell you, you can't do this. This doesn't exist.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they think they can change you, they're going to change you.
But
Whereas,
does anybody know a palm reader in our community? I'm not aware of anyone. Are you?
no, I don't know of anybody.
Anybody in the chat aware of one? Hypnicity's asking. I have no idea.
And in fact, they even have apps you can put on your
Of course they do. There's an app for everything.
there's an app for reading your palm.
I got into palm reading when I was a teenager, and I just had a book, and I started looking at people's palms, and because it wasn't a very good book, and I probably didn't study it very hard, but I just looked at people's palms and kept seeing horrible things, like everyone was going to die of a brain tumor, and it's like, oh no, that's enough.
That's what happened to me when I was in nursing school. I was in pediatrics, and Jennifer was a baby. No matter what I was studying, Jennifer had it. It was terrible. It was terrible. I didn't go into pediatrics.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah,
about
but
that.
I think
dry.
spirit uses the social or the media of the time. I mean, back in Jesus's time, the major media was walking around telling stories, and then
Yeah.
with radio and television and movies. I remember back in the 90s, I wrote this book about angels and had pictures of angels in different, places, physical places around town. And then I also had artwork by local artists who were doing angels in one form or another. And one of the guys, a sculptor told me, it's so weird that everybody I know is all of a sudden making angels. He said it was kind of like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind when everyone was making the images of the mountain or whatever.
Devil's.
Yeah, Devil's Tower.
Yeah.
And it went after he said that it was true. And then all of a sudden there was all this stuff about angels in the early 90s. And that became, and then there's television programs about it and blah, blah, blah. So and now it's the same thing is happening with not just extraterrestrials, but with, the Matrix and other dimensions and different timelines and things that we back in the day just didn't think about. So
do you watch Loki? Do you watch Loki?
No.
Do you know who Loki is? The spirit.
Brother of Thor.
Right.
Brother of Thor. Anyway, he has a series, and right now it's all about timelines. What do you call them? Timelines. Timelines that are get together. What am I trying to say?
Converging.
Well, there are converging timelines, but anyway, it's all about timelines. This timeline creation and how it's creating a problem for this matrix because the matrix wasn't built big enough for all the timelines that are being created. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting that it was all about parallel timelines. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
And I had read somewhere that when you think about it, those things that show up, those sci-fi things that show up in Hollywood, it's not long before it's actually there. It's like
Exactly.
there's somebody there is seeing it,
Lay
making
down.
up a story about it, and then finding out, we're all finding out, oh, there is some truth to this.
Yeah, because it's all, or at least part of it, is channeled to
Yeah,
the people
it's,
who created it. The
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
ideas come
all
from
up there in
somewhere.
that collective consciousness too, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah. And it's so nice to be able to say to people who are skeptics or very grounded in the sciences or the, whatever, 3D world that, well, this quantum physics is finally catching up with what people who have doing, what spiritual people have been
Us
knowing for.
woo-woos been doing for a while.
right.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many changes when they finally adapt
Yeah. It's going to be
all
great.
the science to the quantum physics.
Yeah.
There's a
That's
whole lot of stuff changing.
So
I,
it's all getting lined up.
yeah.
It is pretty cool.
The first message I got after my husband passed, that I got personally, was, "Oh, the physics is just amazing," because he was an engineer and a science guy,
Engineer.
and and I also got the message through someone else that he was being thankful that between or among me and my sisters, the whole idea of, because he didn't totally buy in, but I'd be talking to him about all this stuff. When I was doing readings, I would come down in the morning or come down after a reading, and go, "You wouldn't believe I said this," and then she said, "Yeah, that's just right," and he would look at me and nod, and you could see this battle in his head going, "This isn't logical, but I know she's not a complete nut." And so he was he was struggling with it then, but anyhow, the message did come through that he said it made his transition easier, knowing me and my sisters who are kind of like this too. That it was like, oh, they really were right, and it made his transition a little bit easier. But one
I
one of
love
my
it.
stories was, sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and go, "You have to go downstairs. There's someone in the house. There's someone in the house." And after a while, he'd say, "Joan, it's just a ghost. Go back to sleep."
It's
He would
just a joke.
recognize it before I would, that something else was happening. So they can be persuaded to see the light, sort of. Oh, this is fun.
Some take a little longer than others.
Yes, yes.
Hi, Vibin says she loves the sci-fi. I could feel it when I see the tech concepts that it's true and coming to us soon. I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a real Star Trek fan. I still watch all the different Star Treks. Brave New World is the new Star Trek, and I'm crazy about it. Anything to do with Star Trek is because they teach the oneness of everything. That's what
That's
I like
beautiful.
about it. It's all about the oneness of everything. Most of the series is anyway. So, what
Oh.
else have you got going on, Joan?
Well, I'm really looking forward to the Wisdom Circle on Monday, because it's going to be about our Heather is presenting on
The remote viewing,
remote
that's gonna
viewing.
be
Yeah.
fun.
And then on Wednesday, I'll be hosting Juno on
Are
my
you
channel
and you and Juno are doing that every week?
once a month.
Once a month, okay.
Yeah. And I
Those are
try to do
always
things
fun.
on Wednesdays. Yeah. So that's been fun. I'm looking forward to that.
I think we're gonna do a show on Atlantis on Tuesday. I'm still looking
Ooh.
at it, trying to figure out the logistics, but it's gonna be on Atlantis. So I hope we're gonna do one on Lemuria as well, the information that we've gotten from Lemuria. I don't know, we'll see.
We'll
And
see.
then let's see, what do we got? Who's on next week? I believe it's Jay, but I'm not positive. Um, just died.
But I don't have it with me.
I'm looking up the list real quick. Where is the list? It's number one, of course, and I couldn't find it.
Of course not. It's always the last place you look.
Yep, Atlantis on Tuesday and Jay Marcus on next Saturday.
Yeah.
She's Majestic Oracle, so that'll be fun. And Tuesday should be good if I can find what I need. So That'd
I
be
just
fun.
admire you so much. You have things so well planned and great topics all the time. It's wonderful.
We try.
Thanks. We try.
Thank you. It's not easy.
Yeah, but what I sent her is so complete that it's almost like, well, just read it. You know,
That's cool. I've just started looking at it. So
it's an easy read, and when I was doing it, I was trying to. It's like I wrote her a note and it says every time I tried to shorten something, I was getting the message, no, she needs to read the whole thing, so I couldn't shorten it. And I'm going, okay. I said, if we're going to shorten
it's
it,
fun though, because we learn as we go along.
Yeah.
We give out the information, but half the time we
we
didn't
don't
know
get half
anything
of what
about
we've learned.
when we started. So
Yeah.
that's kind of fun. And sharing our Crone experiences, I really enjoy that, talking to people like you and Heather, and just getting and like our wisdom circle when we can get together and pick apart a particular subject, because there's so much to do with the ascension. There's so many different aspects and points of view that we can go for, that it's exciting to me. And I think we'll never run out of subjects, because we just
Yeah.
everything
keep
keeps
finding
changing,
out.
moving faster,
And we keep finding more about some of the history.
Yes.
Stuff shows up that when nobody knew about. So
Yeah.
there's that should be looked into. And
Things are moving faster. And it does, being able to provide kind of a historical perspective, because you look
Yeah.
at the world and things look pretty rough right now. But
Mhm.
to see just in the scope of our lifetimes, or even in our adult lifetimes, that how things have developed, it gives me hope for the future, that
It really does
we're
me
on,
too.
overall, we're on the
Mhm.
right trajectory.
It does me
So
too. And it's especially the changes that we've seen in the last 5 years, 5 or
oh
6 years.
wow.
It Who knew that we would ever be where we are today compared to 5 years ago?
and that we are as open and can be as open as we are.
Mhm.
And it's so true that, as I was saying back in the day, now Spirit's using social media and every new tool to get the message through. But it's also the balance, because there are people on the other side of the fence of the darkness is definitely
Mhm.
using social media. But we're here to help balance that, and everybody who spends time here
You
is
can't have
helping
one
put the
without the
light.
other, is the thing. You can't have one
Not
without the
not in
other.
this time.
Duality.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
This
So
dimension it calls for duality.
just
Yeah.
hanging out with you guys and talking about these subjects that we love is kind of our way of pouring more light into the world that really needs it. So, and it's fun.
I agree. That's
Yes.
how we keep ourselves from being stressed out. This
Yeah.
community is so helpful with
Mhm.
every show. The vibes in the community or in the chat room are so loving that it just makes it an absolute joy to come on live. I love it. I'm always happier at the end of the show than I was at the beginning. And I don't
Yeah.
mean I was unhappy. It's just it always
You
lifts me up.
react to all the wonderful vibes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It really
So
does demonstrate that. And when we do readings, I'm always better with other people than well, I don't know. Sometimes I'm pretty good on my own too. But our vibrations bring each other up, and think when we
oh, I know.
all
I
get
love it. And
together.
when we all get the same messages, basically three
Yeah.
different methods of reading whatever we're doing, and we still basically the same
Saying
message.
the
I
same
love
message.
that.
Yeah.
It's
It
fun.
just,
And
It's so
it's
fun.
funny how the cards always come up similar.
Yeah.
mhm, it really is. Well, Joan, thanks so much for being here today. I hope you'll come back soon, and
Thank
who knows what we can get into next time.
Yeah.
And thank you, everybody, for being in the chat room and for watching today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
And for all
And
your wonderful comments.
yeah,
Yeah.
we appreciate the comments. We love the fact that you all join us. It makes it a lot more fun and interesting. So thanks for being here today, and we'll see you next time. Until then, bye-bye. Go out, shine your light. We love you all.
Take care of you.
Bye.